On a remote island, shrouded by mystery and beauty, a towering volcano stands guard. A team of researchers arrives to study the island's mysteries. Led by a mother and her young daughter Alice, the pair are on the rugged mountain slope, setting up a device to monitor volcanic activity. As Alice surveys their surroundings, she suddenly tugs on her mother's sleeve. "Mom, look, the snow, it's melting." Her mother, momentarily dismissive, glances up, only to realize with horror that Alice is right. The snow is indeed vanishing, almost as if it's being devoured by an unseen force. "Oh, Conor McGregor, have you been here?" Panic floods her face as she grips Alice's hand and starts running downhill, both of them stumbling over rocks and snow in their desperate escape. Meanwhile, back at the base camp on the other side of the island, the rest of the research team begins to sense something wrong. Unusual tremors shake the ground, sending ripples of unease among the crew as they emerge from their tents. To their shock, they see smoke billowing out of the volcano's peak. Within moments, chaos breaks out as everyone scrambles to flee. In the midst of the panic is Alice's father, Lee, who grabs his radio, frantically calling for his wife. After receiving no reply, he grabs his gear and heads into the forest toward his family. Alice and her mom, racing for their lives, spot a truck in the distance. "Run, Alice!" her mother yells as they dash toward it. Alice clambers onto the truck. Her mother just steps behind her when, suddenly, a massive fireball explodes nearby. The blast sends her mother flying, landing hard on the ground. As Alice cries out, Lee's car comes racing into view. But before he can reach his wife, a chunk of molten rock crashes onto his vehicle, flipping it over. Trapped, and with nowhere to run, Lee crawls out from the wreckage just as a colossal cloud of ash and fire sweeps over them, enveloping everything in its path. By some miracle, Lee survives, but Alice's mother is lost in the inferno. Years later, Lee is addressing a room full of scientists, recounting the tragic eruption that tore his life apart. He speaks of nature's unyielding power. Nature doesn't show mercy or hold grudges. It creates and it destroys with the same indifference. The volcano erupted in a fury, wiping out everything around it in mere minutes. Since the tragedy, developers have transformed the deadly volcano site into a tourist attraction, a theme park built upon the sleeping giant. The visitors are drawn by the allure of the volcano, now a spectacle of engineered thrills. Among these crowds is Alice, who, now a grown scientist like her parents, feels a deep sense of unease. She works at the park to monitor the volcano, and despite her uneasiness, she is determined to complete her job. With a team of engineers, she installs sensors inside the volcano. As she finishes, the ground shifts unexpectedly, causing the rope supporting her to slip. Alice begins to plummet into the volcano's depths, but her colleague outside catches the rope in time, pulling her back to safety. Afterward, her colleague activates the sensors, which produce a stunning holographic image of the volcano. But as Alice gazes at the display, she senses something familiar and deeply unsettling. "This volcano is reawakening," she warns her team, urgency clear in her voice. "We need to shut down the park and evacuate everyone." However, her concerns are quickly dismissed by her superiors. "We don't have enough data to support that claim, Alice. Besides, the park has millions invested. We can't just shut down based on a hunch." Alice, frustrated but undeterred, seeks out her father. Lee, upon hearing her concerns, begins his own research, digging through old records and observing the volcano's activity with a veteran's eye. His heart skips as he realizes the impending disaster. "Oh my God," he mutters, understanding too well what's coming. He contacts Alice immediately. "Get out of there, Alice. That volcano is about to blow." But Alice, steadfast and stubborn, continues trying to alert the authorities and the park management, only to be met with resistance at every turn. At the center of this resistance is the wealthy park owner, an arrogant businessman who believes he's untouchable. With a smug grin, he tells Alice and the engineers, "People love danger. A live volcano is exactly the thrill tourists are after. This will make millions." Desperate, Alice recalls her mother's tragic fate and confronts the owner. "You can't outrun a volcano moving at 400 miles per hour, she says, her voice sharp with memory. "That's how I lost my mother." But the owner brushes her off, insisting that the threat is nothing more than harmless steam. Just as Alice finishes speaking, her colleague introduces her to a new high-tech drone equipped with a 24-megapixel camera. They use it to scan the volcano, which only confirms Alice's worst fears. The volcano's pressure levels are rising at an alarming rate. Lee, having gathered enough data to back Alice's claim, rushes to the park and meets with her. They board a helicopter together, determined to evacuate the site. Meanwhile, tourists are unknowingly enjoying the view. riding a metro-like lift around the island's scenic spots. Oblivious to the looming catastrophe, they marvel at the volcano from a safe distance, snapping photos and laughing. But soon, tremors rock the island, and a massive shockwave bursts forth from the volcano, causing panic. Lee shouts into his radio, urging the park staff to evacuate everyone. Alice sends out the final call for a helicopter, demanding they remove the remaining tourists. As lava begins to spew and ash rains down, a couple swimming in a river nearby notices the water around them start to steam and bubble. Lava flows into the river, blocking their path back. Thinking quickly, they follow a pipe leading out of the riverbed, escaping just in time. The girl almost gets trapped as the water's suction pulls her down, but her partner rescues her. Back at the tourist center, the owner continues to downplay the situation, telling everyone it's merely a little smoke. But as lava and ash begin consuming the ground, reality sets in. Tourists run in every direction, screaming, as molten rocks rain down and the earth itself trembles violently. Alice and Lee, guiding a group of survivors, manage to reach the metro, but as they start their descent, a massive piece of volcanic debris crashes onto the track, shattering it. "We need to jump to the next metro track or we're done for," Alice yells. With no time to waste, they begin assisting the passengers, moving one by one to safety. Just as they think they're in the clear, the metro they were on plummets down the cliffside, with only Alice, Lee, and the park owner's wife remaining inside. Another metro track descending the mountain narrowly avoids crashing when it's saved by the couple's car blocking its path. In the chaos, Alice, Lee, and the few survivors speed away from the crumbling volcano. As they drive away, the volcano unleashes its full wrath, consuming the park and everything around it in a fiery inferno. In the rearview mirror, Alice takes one last look at the volcano, her mother's memory vivid in her mind. She knows nature is both beautiful and terrifying, and that it will never be tamed. Alice's colleague announced an alarming message over the radio. "The lava is spreading throughout the village. We have only 1 hour to evacuate." Soon, massive chunks of volcanic debris began raining down on the tourist center, where Alice's employer, the theme park's owner, watched in horror as people dashed for their lives. A large piece of rock crashed near him, knocking him off his feet and leaving him injured. As he lay there, a sense of regret filled him. He remembered Alice's cautionary words. She had warned him that no one could control a 400-mile volcano. He now realized he should never have built the park in such a hazardous area. Over the radio, Alice's colleague contacted her again, saying, "Alice, the lava is flowing over the river, and soon it'll block all escape routes. You need to get out now." But Alice was thinking fast. "If the lava mixes with the river," she replied, "the toxic steam will be fatal for the villagers. We must save them." With determination in her voice, she proposed a daring plan. "We have to reach the water supply unit and redirect the thermal pipes south. That's the only way to divert the lava." However, there was one obstacle. They needed a security code to access the controls at the water unit. The owner's wife, standing nearby, offered the code without hesitation, desperate to prevent further tragedy. With the code in hand, Alice raced to implement her plan. Meanwhile, the park's owner watched the chaos unfold through a CCTV feed. Among the fleeing crowds, he noticed a young girl sobbing alone, trapped in a corner. Something stirred inside him, a forgotten sense of humanity. He limped over, found the girl, and guided her to a nearby boat. Urged to join the others, he refused, stating solemnly, "I'll wait here until my wife returns." The boat pushed off just as another massive volcanic fragment struck the ground where he stood. The eruption claimed him, but his act of kindness ensured the child's escape. Alice and her team were making their way to the water supply unit when her colleague voiced a grim reminder. "Alice, diverting the thermal pipe will bring you into the lava's range. If you go through with this, there's no coming back." Alice knew the risk, but pressed on, resolute in her mission to save the villagers. With lava flowing dangerously close behind, they finally reached the unit. Inside, they faced another challenge. The circuit they needed to access was surrounded by searing lava, making any approach deadly. Thinking quickly, Alice turned to her colleague. "Can you fly your drone into the roof of the unit? If we can cause a controlled collapse, it might knock the circuit loose and activate the draining systems." Without hesitation, her colleague directed the drone into the structure, and it collided with the roof. The impact caused a controlled explosion, cracking open the dam and releasing a massive wave of water. News reports soon confirmed that the water had stalled the lava's advance, buying the villagers precious time to escape. However, the encounter of water with lava produced a dense cloud of steam and ash, darkening the skies. Amidst the chaos, a woman among the villagers anxiously cried, "My grandfather is still in the village. Determined to rescue him, she and her husband returned to the burning remnants of their hometown. Miraculously, they found her grandfather alive. Though weakened, he smiled at his granddaughter, took her hands, and spoke softly. "Be brave, my child. I am content to see you safe. It's my time to go." With those words, he passed away peacefully, leaving his granddaughter in tears, but resolved to honor his wish to survive. They hurried back, but their car became ensnared in a pool of molten rock. The tires melted, leaving the vehicle teetering over the edge of a cliff. Desperately, the man secured a rope to a nearby boulder, trying to reverse the car out. When that failed, they exited one by one, narrowly escaping the unstable vehicle. Together, they made their way to the base camp, glancing back to see the volcano erupting with relentless power. At the base, Lee, Alice's father, joined the evacuation efforts. But as they attempted to cross a bridge, an explosion split it in two. Alice and the others made it across, but Lee was stranded on the other side. Alice, shouting over the roaring flames, promised, "Daddy, I'll get a helicopter to rescue you. Just hold on." But as they left, the volcano intensified, and the bridge began to crumble. Meanwhile, Lee found a motorcycle and sped away, weaving through the debris-strewn landscape. Yet fate had other plans. His bike skidded and he was thrown from it, landing near the volcano's edge. Alice, watching in horror from a distance, cried out, helpless as the volcano's fury appeared to claim him. "Father, forgive me," she whispered through tears. "I tried to save you." Just as the full force of the volcano unleashed a final eruption, the survivors reached safety in the helicopter. Among them was the owner's wife, who noticed a familiar watch on the wrist of the young girl her husband had saved. With trembling hands, she asked, "Did the man who gave you this watch, did he get on the boat?" The girl shook her head, and both women wept, grieving the loved ones they had lost. In the following days, news spread about the heroic evacuation, and Alice struggled to accept her father's apparent death. Then, one afternoon, a breaking news alert flashed across the screen. It reported that a search team had miraculously rescued Lee. Against all odds, he had found a hidden cave inside the volcano, shielding himself until the lava subsided. When he emerged from his hideout, he was alive, though battered. Alice's heart soared with relief as she raced to the recovery station. There, she finally embraced her father. The tears of sorrow replaced by tears of gratitude. They clung to each other, overwhelmed by the ordeal yet grateful to be reunited. In that moment, they realized the profound truth. Nature's power is beyond human control, but so too is the resilience of the human spirit. If you enjoyed this recap, check out the other ones on the right next. Drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more in the future. I upload every other day. Grab your popcorn, enjoy yourself, and see you soon, my friend.